Formula One returns this weekend with the European leg getting underway with the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix in Imola. But along with that, also making a return is the F1 sprint. Now, for those of you who remember, the sprint race was a way that was used in 3 particular races last year in order to determine the grid for Sunday, and as actually used as a replacement for traditional qualifying. Now, there were some difficulties in getting teams to agree for the return of the sprint this time around, but it has indeed been confirmed that the sprint race will be happening in 3 particular venues and will be coming to us with some differences. But what exactly are these differences that are going to be made to the format this time around? Well, we at Sports Today have you covered, because right now we are going to take a look at the 3 major changes that have been made to the sprint race this time around. And let's start with the number of points that are being awarded. Now, when the sprint race took place for the first time in 2021, points were only awarded to the drivers who finished in the top 3. So the driver finishing first got 3 points, the driver finishing second got 2, and the driver in third got 1. However, this time around, as you can see, it's a whole different ball game. The top 8 drivers will be getting points, with the first driver in first getting 8 and every driver lower getting 1 point less all the way down to 8th. Now, that's an interesting caveat because it means that World Championship points are on offer. So a decent finish, even if not necessarily first in the Saturday sprint, will in fact ensure that you could be getting a few bonus points for your team to help not only your position in the drivers but also that all important Constructors' Championship. And the second major change, and this is arguably one that was a bone of contention for many experts, fans and people involved in the sport, was the designation of who got pole position. Well, this time around, the fastest driver in Friday qualifying will be the one who's declared to be on pole position and not the winner of the sprint race. Why is this important? Well, because before the sprint race, it was always the person who set the fastest lap in Saturday qualifying who got pole position. However, as we know, the sprint race's format is a little different. Because the sprint race takes place on Saturday, that means regular qualifying takes place on Friday. Now, this time around, the person who finishes first in the sprint race will, of course, start the race in first place on pole position technically, but the designation of pole position will go to the driver who tops qualifying on Fridays. This is a very important distinction for many because pole position should be about 1 lap times and not about who finishes fastest in a sprint that will consist of 1/3 of the total race mileage. And the last change this time around that's being made is, of course, in the venues. Now, the 2021 season saw 3 venues, the first of them being Silverstone, the second being Monza in Italy, Silverstone in England and Monza in Italy, and the final one was at Interlagos in Brazil. Now, they have retained Brazil for this year, but there are 2 new venues that will be coming in place of England and Italy. The first of them, of course, being Imola, and the second being when F1 heads to Austria. Now, why is this important? It is important in a way because this is still a new format, so this is F1's way of gauging on which particular types of circuit would a sprint be more effective. This is just speculation on my part, but it could be that one of the reasons that Brazil was retained was because, if you remember, Brazil was the place where Lewis Hamilton stormed through the field after qualifying problems on Friday, and on Saturday's sprint he absolutely tore through the field in order to make it a very, very memorable sprint race indeed. That and the fact that that the circuit in Interlagos is very conducive to quick races as well as overtaking would have no doubt played its part. And so these are the 3 major differences that will be there in the sprint races this year. Are you a fan of the sprint race, or do you think that traditional qualifying is something that should be here to stay at all times? Do let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for joining us. As always, I'm Shane Reyes, and I'll see you soon.